So continuing here, just to finish that thought, do the math. If you got to pay $1 million for a piece of crap fixer upper in San Francisco, if that's a town you want to live, see, people ought to be free to live where they want to live. It's as simple as that. We should be able to live wherever we want at any given time. We could have extra housing everywhere. That's what we could have today. So the point I was just trying to make was not to have made any progress at all, just to go back to have it equal to where we were in 1960, let's say, when it came to affordable housing, okay, for everybody to be able to enter middle class home ownership, okay, on a minimum wage job. Minimum wage, maybe $1.50 an hour if you're lucky, right? But if you could be a homeowner, your wife could stay home, take care of the family on that income. What do you care? Do you understand why numbers are so totally irrelevant, totally unimportant? We need to bring the worth of the numbers up. So don't concentrate, don't focus on numbers, and we're just going to make it by just raising our numbers. Then you see inflation. Look at the fast food restaurants. You know what McDonald's is charging for a fillet of fish? It's like $4, $4.50 or something for a little piece of crap, like a fish stick in a piece of white bread. $4.50 at McDonald's. It used to be cheap. You know, that was the fast food. That was the cheap place to go, right? And they're blaming minimum wage workers for this, right? That's what they're doing. That's what they want people to. Well, we told you it was going to cause inflation when we paid you 10 or 11 bucks an hour. Now look what you got. So you want to go up to 15? Well, expect to pay 20 bucks for a fillet of fish. You see, that's what they're going to try to. They're going to try to finger the minimum wage worker, okay, for this. Do you understand how maddening this is to a guy like me? It makes me cuckoo, okay, completely insane. And God is the only way I find any relief, because sometimes I feel like nobody else understands. And my family is sick and tired of hearing me. That's why, another reason why I do these videos is that my family doesn't have to hear me. My kids get on the phone, and hours later, I mean, they're sick and tired of hearing me talk about the same stuff over and over again. But the general public needs to hear this stuff. We need to address these things. We need to confront these things. We can never extricate ourselves from the undesirable effects of corruption and fraud and collusion of special interest groups monopolizing, fixing prices, and causing your cost of living to go up, and the debasement of your currency that accompanies it. I mean, how long? It's a pyramid scheme. Obviously, it can't work indefinitely, but they're going to try to finger, it's those greedy minimum wage workers. It's their fault. Now, look, they've got extra money. Now they could put gas in their car or whatever. I mean, that's it. It barely, because the rents are going up just as fast. So it's like, no, that got swallowed up. The landlord just took that minimum wage increase away. So the mainstream media won't talk about this stuff. They won't talk about the fact that the cost of housing to purchase a home is directly tied in to the cost for rent. Do you understand? That's the way investors operate. So if they want those low-end houses, they want all that stuff. Like if you were playing Monopoly, they want the stuff on Baltic Street, right? That's what they want. They want that cheap fixer-upper housing. The stuff that's coveted by a young couple struggling, trying to get ahead, trying to enter the middle class, and they keep getting knocked back down. They start climbing the mountain, blood, sweat, and tears, trying. Okay, even a lot of people with skills, and then they just get knocked right back down the mountain. Sorry. Right? And it's important. The landlords realize that there's a lot of peer pressure. They got to keep you under their thumb. You can't let these people get out from under your thumb. Then you're going to be out of work. Who are you going to rent to? If all your tenants suddenly could be homeowners, do you understand how deeply we have stepped into the crapola? Deep, man, up to our hips, man, up to our necks, man. We're smelling it now, man. It reeks. And there's going to be some pain involved. At least it's going to be perceived as that. And perception is reality. But when people see that, hey, we're entering a depression. I can only get this much for my commodities, and my services are going. I can't, and then you got all these companies out there, these big companies, and people with skills. I mean, the guy's a contractor, and he's got 15, 20 guys working for him building houses. And they're all getting paid substandard wages. They're not getting a living wage. They're not getting enough to enter the middle class of home ownership. So one guy out of 16 guys can afford. Is that the trend you want across the country? That's what's going on in California. And believe me, if you can build a home, you've got a skill. Okay, if you could fix an automobile, you've got a skill. If you could do plumbing, you've got a skill. If you could do electrical, you've got a skill. If you could do drywall, you've got a skill. If you could do roofing, you've got a skill. You understand these are skilled workers I'm talking about. I'm not just talking about, not that there's anything wrong with working at a fast food joint. I've done very menial jobs in my life. I've worked on farms. I've worked in industrial laundromats. I've worked in factories. And I know what it's like to work on minimum wage and try to survive. Okay? And just slightly above, if you stay there long enough, you'll get a raise, this sort of thing. But it's never enough. It's all constantly falling behind. And there's no way we're ever going to bring the numbers up to match the worth of a minimum wage job in 1960. You'd have to be making, like I said, about 60, maybe even $70 an hour living in San Francisco to be a homeowner. What's it going to take in your town? It's not hard. Look up the median price for a house and then figure out how much you need, how much your other expenses are. So how much disposable income you could spend on a mortgage. On that's the interest and the taxes, all like an impound mortgage they call it. So if you include all that stuff in it, figure out what kind of nut you're talking about cracking every month. And then you can very simply do based on a minimum wage on a 40-hour work week, okay, which is a hell of a lot, devoting your life to a job. Day in and day out, sun up till sundown, right? Certain times of the year, it is really kind of grueling. It's a lot to ask, especially in light of the fact that so many people are doing useless, worthless jobs. And if we were all doing productive jobs, we'd be working about 5 hours a week if we're lucky, okay? We'd have to find stuff to do, okay? That's what we got to do. We got to find stuff to do with our time. But just do the math and see what I'm talking about. I know what I'm talking about. I know that there's no way you're ever going to bring the numbers up sufficiently to be able to even equal the buying power of a minimum wage job in 1960. That is a lot of dough, okay? I don't care where you live, even in BF, Arkansas. I mean, it's just do the math yourself, okay? It's not difficult. I told you how to do it. Figure it out, what it would cost, how much you'd have to make an hour, and then go from there. But you'll see that what I'm saying is true, that you'll never be able to do it. So we've got to bring the cost of living down. That's what has to happen, and landlords are not going to like it if the rents start going down. I don't know what's happening, because here in California, from what I'm hearing, they're still going up, but I'm hearing conflicting stories. I heard in San Francisco they started going down. So I don't know. It's just like on mainstream media. One week you hear that unemployment claims are up, and then the next week you hear, oh no, unemployment's never been lower. So I don't know. It's just you gotta kind of do your own research. You can't just believe me or anybody else, because I'm telling you straight up, I don't know everything. But I know enough to know that we have digressed a long way in society. We have regressed, a long way in society. We have not made progress socially, politically, or economically speaking. We're further and further apart, and this is by design. They want us divided. They want us at each other's throats. They're wanting you to think that in order for you to get ahead, he has to go down, and on in that theme. That's what they want you. They want this dog-eat-dog atmosphere, hyper-competitive, rat race scenario, social Darwinian economics, only the strong survive. All the weaklings, they deserve to die. That should be your attitude. That's a spirit they want you to cop and go with. And I'm telling you, no. Well, I got to hurry up here, because I realized I only brought one extra tape, and this is it. But just as well, because I'm freezing my behind off out here. I had this idea, with all this homelessness, of this adopt an adult program, maybe, starting. I'm a good idea guy, but I'm not a good implementation guy. So anybody out there thinks, hey, you know what, that's not a bad idea. I should contact the people running my local soup kitchen, because you'll find the homeless always end up at soup kitchens, right? So they can figure out, what needs to be done here. But people need to start considering adopting. Start an adoption program. Let them fill out an application if they want to be adopted. Maybe something like that on that theme, And then people say, yeah, you know what, this guy could be useful. And I've got a spare bedroom, or I've got this granny unit or whatever. I've got a cottage or a place where I've got an RV even. I mean, a lot of people would be very happy in the right situation. It could be just like a luxury condominium. I mean, if you've got hot and cold running water and you've got all the amenities, who cares? You could take a shower, you can run your television, you can cook a meal, you can refrigerate your food. I mean, that's pretty deluxe for a lot of these people that think they died and went to heaven. So it doesn't have to be expensive, and they can make themselves worthwhile by helping out around your place, right? So there's a lot of, there's a lot of upsides to this idea of adopt an adult program I'm thinking about, that, like I said, I'm not the guy, to implement it, but, somebody out there hears it, they say, hey, you know what, I'm going to share that idea with my local soup kitchen. Maybe I am the kind of guy, maybe you're the kind of person, maybe I'm talking to a kind of person that's an implementer, and you go out there and say, yeah, this is a great cause, I can see working for this cause. You see, conflating, the problem for me, as with a lot of decent, upright people, is always having to conflate what you do to contribute to society, okay, to humanity, to serve God, to be God's good and faithful, loyal servant, just doing what you've got to do because you have compulsion. You're compelled to do what he says to do for your fellow human beings, and conflating that with making money. It's always there. It's ever present, and I hate it. I absolutely abhor it. I mean, there's things that I can do to make money. Then one of them is not preaching, which is basically what I do. It's kind of it's kind of an offbeat kind of preaching I do, but I'm always referring back to Scripture and teachings of Christ to be the highest ideals we can ever live up to. That's what I'm doing here. But, it's just an idea I wanted to put out there. It's very important to me. It really bugs the crap out of me, man. I mean, I would die. The first night out in the cold, I'd be a dead man, okay? So I just, I could not have any more empathy than that. It hurts me in a very real, profound way, in a very tangible way. It hurts me that my fellow human beings have to suffer and die out in the cold in America, the land. I'm ashamed. Just like Donald Trump said, that was a hook. That's why I voted for him as president. He said he was ashamed of homelessness in America. And I, too, am ashamed. And he better put some heat under Ben Carson's behind, who's running HUD. Okay, and we need to talk. I need to have a conversation about this $50 billion a year being poured into this Section 8 social welfare program, and fix the damn problem and bring down the taxes, bring down the cost of living. I like Trump. I really do. I could be wrong. Maybe he's going to turn out to be the devil himself. I don't know. Anybody is subject to deceit, unless you're considered one of the very elect, like the Bible says. Even the very elect would be deceived if that were possible. But I don't know. I really believe that Trump's a good guy. I really believe he's on the side of humanity. Okay, so everybody can be for Trump. All the, the anti-fascist groups out there, Antifa, all the communists and socialists. You can support Trump. It's okay. Look, I'm telling you, if the guy brings down your cost of living and he makes it so you have a higher standard of living and you might be able to afford to enter the middle class and home ownership, have greater safety and security and prosperity and freedom gradually. That's what you're looking for. That's what we all want. Basically, humans all want the same thing. We know what feels right. We know what feels good and comfortable. We know what we want. That's what we want. We want less and less burden over time. That's progress, not more and more and more. That can't go on indefinitely. Come on. So we want the same stuff. Give Trump a chance. He's hated by the establishmentarians, these people that would just wreck up the joint. Nancy Pelosi at this place, she looked like she looked like she was out of it. She looked like she ate a whole tray of pot brownies all to herself or something. There's something wrong with that woman sitting in there at the, kept showing her mug, and when they did a close up on her eyes, man, she looks like she's on something. But these are the kind of people, they're uber wealthy. I mean, and yet they talk like they're on the side of the peeps. Oh, we're the blue collar. The Democrat Party's the blue collar. We're the egalitarian party. We're the socialist party. We're the good guys and all this crap. when Obama thoroughly wrecked up the joint. When was the last time you heard that? Mainstream media saying, oh, we're driving up the deficit and all this right now while Trump is going. They don't talk about Obama doubling it, saying he was going to bring it down. He doubled it from 10 trillion to 20 trillion in his 8 years. Poverty exploded. The wealth imbalance, disparity exploded under Obama, and yet he's going to get credit. He's some kind of good socialist. He's some kind of a blue-collar, working-class man of the peeps. Okay, no, I'm sorry, my friends. Quite the contrary. That's how Satan works. It's devilish. It's diabolical. It's completely unnerving. It's completely befuddling. I mean, there aren't terms enough to explain how maddening it is, but I mean, you could say it's perverted irony. It is. And it's just so hypocritical, in your face hypocritical.